Banana Rumble? More like Banana Fumble, am I right? I'm not gonna play a laugh track, I'm just tired, man. So Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble dropped, to absolutely no reaction on my part because I completely forgot about it after the announcement trailer. Honestly, after Banana Mania, I was kinda checked out. I wasn't planning on making a video about Banana Rumble, I was just going to let it pass me by. However, I was reminded of its existence on launch day, and after much deliberation and some requests to talk about it, I figured I'd give it a shot. Best case scenario, it'll be a great game like the good old days and I'll have a blast playing it. Worst case scenario, well, I've been hurt before, I can handle it. So how was it then? Was it a great game or a massive disappointment? Well, neither really. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is a game that exists. Now, I'm actually going to give Banana Rumble credit for that. For what, you may be asking, existing? Well, yeah, kind of. I'm giving it credit for actually having a reason to exist. That is something that it immediately has over the past two Monkey Ball games. Banana Blitz HD was a low-effort remake that no one asked for of an incredibly unpolished and unpopular entry, which nominally fixed the problems with the original by making it not control like absolute shit. Unfortunately, even on a control stick, it still played like shit, and it was even a downgrade in some ways, with the original soundtrack being replaced and most of the minigames being completely removed. So it wasn't even a 100% strict upgrade over the original on Wii. If Banana Blitz HD didn't exist, absolutely nothing of value would be lost. Banana Mania was another low-effort HD remake, but this time of the incredibly popular and beloved Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 on GameCube. I'd say Banana Mania has slightly more justification to exist than Banana Blitz HD, given that it in theory brought the original games to modern platforms, but its watered-down physics, completely broken party games, scummy DLC practices, and missing features made it inferior to the game it was remaking in just about every way. If you have access to the originals in any form, whether it's 1, 2, or Deluxe, Banana Mania is a complete waste of your time and money. It barely justifies its own existence. And that is where Banana Rumble has a leg up. There's no previous version of Banana Rumble, no more complete package you can go back to and save your money. Banana Rumble is its own original game, a new entry in the Monkey Ball series. Banana Rumble is a game that exists, and unfortunately, Monkey Ball has fallen so far that this is something I have to give it credit for in the context of this series. Now, unfortunately for Banana Rumble, while it is a game that exists, it still doesn't exist in a vacuum, so it can't completely escape comparisons with what came before, but credit where credit is due, it is its own video game. On the topic of video games, I don't typically like talking about new ones. That's part of why I was so on the fence about making this video. A lot of people get really defensive when someone has a dissenting opinion on their new favorite game. It's like sports or politics. It feels like people get this idea that everyone who either likes or dislikes a game is on a different opposing team from one another, and the people that dislike a game are somehow attacking the team that likes it. This just isn't true. Mr. Soda Crab YouTube isn't the arbiter of your opinions. I'm not here to tell you not to enjoy Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. If you like it, that's cool. And you know what, I can see why some people like it. There's some good stuff in here. It looks better than Mania, that's for sure. It looks a lot less plasticky and artificial than that game did. The soundtrack is also leagues better than anything from Banana Blitz HD or Mania as well. There are some good tracks here. I particularly enjoy the music in the Floating City world, for example. And speaking of that Floating City, a lot of the world themes here are pretty inspired. They're nothing super unique, they don't quite have that same wacky, mysterious, and ethereal feel of the worlds in Monkey Ball 2 especially, but there are still refreshing and interesting locations, like the Candy World or the Tea Garden. I also like the character designs in this game, at least for the main cast. I think they still can't beat the elegant simplicity of the originals, and some of the characters feel very over-designed for what should be a very simple game, but these new looks are miles above the garish and ugly Banana Blitz designs we've been dealing with since time immemorial. That said, I don't really get what's going on with the weird thief family. Why the fuck is there a cat here, and a lion, and a sheep? Like, I thought the whole idea was that this was a world of monkeys. I mean, it's not a huge deal, just kind of a weird choice. Whatever, as far as things I dislike go, I can look past a bit of thematic inconsistency in Super Monkey Ball of all things. In terms of more important things I don't like about this game though, whoo boy, strap in, we might be here for a while. So first of all, let's address the gorilla in the room. The physics. This game is made in the same engine they've been using since Banana Blitz HD, and wow, the physics here still feel just as bad as they have for the past few games. Now, I want to cover this up front because I know a lot of people are going to comment about it if I don't get ahead of it. No, I don't dislike it because it's new and different. I dislike it because it feels bad. It is new and different insofar as that it feels worse than the GameCube games. I like new and different when it's done well and with care. Hell, I'm a Fire Emblem fan, and that series practically reinvents itself every other entry. I can deal with change. This is just bad change. In Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, movement feels incredible. The physics are so intuitive. Every action and reaction looks and feels exactly how you would imagine it would play out. The acceleration is just right, whether you're speeding up or slowing down. The interactions with the environment's collision feel like they have real weight and force behind them, and cornering feels incredible. I have never played a game with physics that feel as good as Super Monkey Ball. They truly knocked it out of the park. On the other hand, Banana Rumble, like the previous games in its engine, snatches the ball right back into the park and bunts it right over the foul line. Acceleration feels extremely clunky. Whether you're trying to speed up or slow down, it doesn't feel like either is happening at the rate that it should. Forget stopping on a dime, you couldn't stop on a bank robber's comically large sack of cash. Gravity feels all wrong. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like you're on a planet that's close to Earth in size, but just a bit smaller so gravity is noticeably less intense while still seeming almost right. It's uncanny. Between the acceleration and the gravity, all three of these Banana series games are stuck in this weird limbo where you feel like you're light as a balloon but have a ball and chain tied to your leg. All of this combined makes everything handle much worse. The great cornering and precise control present in the originals are completely absent here. Now there is a practical explanation for why the newer Monkey Ball games feel worse. For one, the physics engine itself just isn't as good. I don't know if it comes down to laziness, incompetence, or just sheer inability to get the parameters back to how they were on GameCube, but whatever it is, it feels cheaper and less polished here. However, the engine isn't the only problem. In fact, the biggest problem is the difference in how these games control, and I mean that literally. Super Monkey Ball has its roots in Japanese arcades. After all, the original on GameCube was simply an enhanced port of the arcade cabinet. This arcade origin is where Monkey Ball's secret sauce comes from. Japanese arcade sticks have a square gate perimeter around them, and if you know anything about geometry, you know the corners of a square are further away from the center than the edges of a square. So on a Japanese arcade stick, you can tilt the joystick further diagonally than you can in any of the cardinal directions. In practice, this means that in the original Monkey Ball arcade machine, up right, up left, down right, or down left actually tilt the stage at a harsher angle in those directions than you can achieve with up, down, left, or right alone. This quirk of the game's design was carried over to the GameCube port and Monkey Ball 2 by extension. Even though they use an octagonal control stick, diagonals are still stronger than cardinal directions. This is what makes high-speed movement and cornering feel so damn good in the originals. It's an incredibly unique control scheme that still feels entirely intuitive. Stuck in this worse engine and lacking the secret sauce of the control scheme, Banana Rumble just doesn't control all that great. This lack of more refined and precise control is echoed in the level designs, because with a less robust physics engine, there's simply not as much that they can comfortably make you do. Throughout the majority of the campaign, Banana Rumble bravely asks the question, would you rather go down a boring path or sit on your ass and wait for 30 seconds? I'm not kidding, so many levels fall into one of these two camps, it's bizarre. In waiting levels, you're just, well, waiting for the level to allow you to complete it. Waiting for a platform to hover over to you and bring you to the goal. Waiting for an elevator you can roll onto, etc. It's very boring level design and very frustrating if you die, because now you can't just jump right into another attempt and start rolling to the goal at your own pace. You have to wait for the level to give you the exact same chance at the exact same time all over again. Waiting like this is part of what made levels like Arthropod in the originals infamous. Except here, there's like a billion different deviations of Arthropod with varying levels of bullshit. Conversely, in path levels, you're just going through some boring variation of the monkey ball equivalent of a hallway. All you're doing is rolling to the end. There are no interesting movement challenges or physics interactions in these levels, you're just walking to the goal. They feel like Banana Blitz levels, just without guardrails. There are some decent levels in the remaining ones that don't fall into these two categories, but a significant chunk of these remaining levels are terrible gimmicks. Like, the game loves throwing you in maze levels that test absolutely nothing about your movement or execution and instead just have you bumblefucking around until you find the correct solution, which is never anything interesting because this game isn't complex enough for real exploration or puzzle solving. Some of them are just bizarre gimmicks, like what in the ever-loving fuck is this manhole level? I'm just sitting here pushing a manhole for 20 seconds, who designed this? The final level of the main campaign, World 1010, is a fantastic case study. In this stage, you're meant to make your way through this long, winding path at high speeds. It looks more like a monkey race course than a challenge mode stage. This is a level that would feel incredible in the originals. Zipping around corners, using gravity to create your own speed, finding places to use your momentum and launch yourself into a later part of the level. I can close my eyes and envision it being a great time. Here in Banana Rumble though, it's absolutely flaccid. The acceleration, deceleration, and handling are all shit. You can't make sharp adjustments at high speed, so you can't really sustain the fast speeds that you feel like you should have in this level, or you'll just fly off uncontrollably. The game has to rely on these booster pads to give you speed because the game's physics aren't robust enough to let you gain speed on your own. It ends up feeling like a cheap and hollow experience, which is a shame because I can see the universe where this level was great. Further exacerbating these level design issues, thanks to the return to different monkeys having different stats, now every level has to be designed with each monkey in mind. They can't do anything too wacky or crazy in any levels, because characters with varying speeds, accelerations, and weights all have to be able to complete them. The character-agnostic movement stats in the originals allowed the developers to really refine every single level, whereas here they're pigeonholed into being more generic. The bounds of what the developers can get away with in any given level are much tighter in this game. And I haven't even addressed the biggest change Banana Rumble makes to the Monkey Ball formula. Like Banana Blitz's jump, Banana Rumble has its own unique addition to the Monkey Ball moveset with the Spin Dash. Now, how have I talked about this game for so long already without mentioning it? Well, because that about sums up how much you need to use it. By pressing and holding B, you can charge up a Spin Dash, which gives you an instant burst of speed. It's great for going off ramps, and going off ramps. Yeah, this thing is pretty sad. You'd think an instant go fast button would be an absolute game changer, but no. In the vast majority of levels, using anything more than a barely charged spin dash will send you careening off the edge to your death. It really only feels useful on levels designed specifically around it. You aren't getting much use from it outside of dedicated levels that might as well be marked, "Use spin dash here." Now, there are some neat shortcuts you can do with it here and there, and I'm sure speedruns of this game will look marginally more interesting than the last two games once people really figure out how to exploit the spin dash. But in normal gameplay, the spin dash is more of a hindrance than an important tool. I can count on one hand all of the times I found use for the spin dash outside of very obvious spin dash levels. And there aren't even all that many of these dedicated spin dash levels. I don't know, this thing ended up being kind of a flop for me, and giving you a go fast button like this feels like a very cheap way of trying to make up for the fact that the engine inherently sucks at giving you speed naturally anyways. The spin dash is essentially a band-aid on a bullet wound, and it's not even a good band-aid. Now, the main gameplay is the most important thing to me, which is why I've spent so long talking about it and its problems. But this game doesn't just stop at having milquetoast gameplay, no, it has to make sure it's deeply flawed in other areas too. Graphically, this game is pretty fugly. Now, I'm not exactly Mr. Graphics. The most graphically intensive game I own is XCOM 2, a game from 2016. But man, the environments in this game look cheap as hell. The backgrounds in the GameCube games unironically look better, and I don't even just mean that relatively based on the context of their release date, I mean I think they look better side by side. I don't care that it's stuck on the Switch, that's no excuse. Pikmin 4, the open-world Zeldas, and 3 great-looking Xenoblade games are all on the same console. You can make Switch games look good. Great, even. They just chose not to. And as the cherry on top of the presentation shit sundae, the sound design is just as terrible in this game as it has been in the past few. Still just one little boop sound that plays over and over while you roll, flaccid-ass impact noises, and annoying monkey voices. But you know what? I am being pretty unfair to this game's graphics and presentation. This obviously isn't a AAA game. I shouldn't expect AAA graphics when it isn't even sold at a AAA price. Given that this is a humble $20 game, I should give it a little more leeway. Holy fuck, it's $50?! Well, they definitely can't justify that price tag with what we've seen so far, so what else have we got? We have multiplayer supporting up to 16 players. Let's take a look at that. Oh, that's bad. Like I said, I'm not Mr. Graphics, and by extension, I'm also not Mr. Framerate. I can look over an occasional stutter or drop in a game that otherwise looks and runs well. It happens. But this just gives me motion sickness. There's no excuse for the frame rate to be this bad. And this is just local with 15 AI opponents. I can't imagine how much this thing must chug over Nintendo's terrible online service. What an absolute shit show. And these party games aren't even interesting. They're all just different boring ways of repurposing the challenge mode gameplay. It's not even worth getting into all of them. All you're doing is running around doing some kind of menial task in 1 or 2 different maps. At least they function, which is more than I can say about half of Banana Mania's games, so good for you, Banana Rumble. Now there is some silver lining here in the multiplayer. Well, maybe not silver lining, maybe like stainless steel lining, aluminum lining, I don't know, there's some kind of lining. For the first time in way too fucking long, multiplayer challenge mode gameplay is finally back. This is something that has been an absolute no-brainer to add back in since the moment they took it out. Why would they market Monkey Ball as a multiplayer series, then relegate the main game mode to single player only? That's like if the only multiplayer mode in Smash Bros was Trophy Launcher. So thankfully, they finally remedied this issue in Banana Rumble by making multiplayer simultaneous split screen. God damn it. Okay, it's not terrible. I'll admit, this is strictly about my preference. It's basically competition mode from Monkey Ball 1, but without the competitive aspect and with admittedly a way better flow to it. Competition mode was an absolute mess. But for me personally, I much prefer the turn-based multiplayer of Monkey Ball 1 and 2 challenge mode. I think the turn-based multiplayer in the originals allows everyone to more thoroughly and authentically get that Monkey Ball experience. But credit where credit is due, challenge mode multiplayer is here and it's very functional. So if you couldn't tell by the second piece of soggy bread on the compliment sandwich just then, that about sums up my thoughts on Banana Rumble. It's more or less exactly what I expected, so at least I can't say I'm disappointed. It's far from the worst thing I've ever played. In fact, it's definitely the best Monkey Ball game we've gotten in years. You could even say it's a step in the right direction. Yes, it's a step in the right direction compared to the previous 2 games, but if you've watched my channel before, you know how I feel about steps in the right direction. I'm not throwing my money at Sega to keep their lights on while they take itty-bitty baby steps forward and absolutely screw the consumer at every step of the way. I don't care about these steps, and I don't care what direction they're in. There is absolutely zero reason why they couldn't just release a good game in the first place. This is especially true because Sega did release a good Super Monkey Ball game in the first place. 2, in fact, over 20 years ago. Developers release great games every year. Many series drop banger after banger with every single entry. I hate this idea that we need to coddle some developers, as they continually release shitty products with a slight upward trend in quality to eventually build their way up to making something worth your money. I'm tired of it. Whether it's Pokemon, Sonic, or Monkey Ball, single steps in the right direction mean absolutely nothing when the developers could have just airlined straight to the destination. That's on them for deciding to walk. If they want to keep tiptoeing towards making a good video game, then they can do it on their own dollar. I'm tired of them doing it on mine. We, as customers, the ones keeping these companies afloat, deserve better. If you like this game, congratulations. I wish I could too. Like I said, I'm not the arbiter of video game opinions. Enjoy your silly monkey game to your heart's content. I'm happy for you. But if you're on the fence, I'm just going to be straight up. This game is not worth it. If it was $20, $30 even, then sure, maybe. It's not terrible, it's a 6 out of 10 coasting on the prestige of a once great series. But $50 is absolutely criminal, especially when they're charging $25 for a day 1 DLC season pass. Yeah, fuck that. I do not think this game is worth your money. If I didn't have patrons giving me money specifically to reinvest in my content, I wouldn't have bought this game. I wouldn't have even thought about it. My advice for you is to wait for the inevitable price drop or skip out on this one altogether. Alright, I think I'm officially done talking about Monkey Ball now. I know I said that at the end of my last Monkey Ball video, but considering I released my first Monkey Ball video days before Banana Rumble's announcement, I kinda ended up getting wrapped up in this game. Thank you all for joining me on my little journey through the whole Monkey Ball series. This series is very close to my heart, both for the quality of the originals and the memories I've made and will continue to make with them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Monkey Ball as a whole or Banana Rumble specifically, so if you have anything to say, whether you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments and I'll try to respond to as many as I can. And of course, this video literally would not have happened without my cool cola crustaceans over on Patreon. Jonas Leshper, Mags' Gaming, Seth Peacock, Dirk Strider, JCKPTH, The Wind is Blowing, David Ramus, and William Hoff. Thanks for making it all possible, you guys. And of course, thank you, dear viewer, for turning in and spending a little bit of your time with me here today. You have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I'll see you next time.